Welcome to another episode of Fantasy Football Free for All. We are in week 3 waivers. And what do you do when Armageddon happens? That's what many fantasy owners are feeling right now. They're wondering, should I just quit? Do I give up? Is it worth playing? The answer is yes. There is talent on the waiver wire to plug those holes. So let's start breaking it down. So with George Kittle out, you're looking for your tight end. 2 clear options. Mike Gesicki, Jonnu Smith. Mike Gesicki with over 130 yards and a touchdown. Jonnu Smith over 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both are not owned widely, and they should be a top waiver claim if you don't have tight end locked up. On Sunday, we had fantasy football Armageddon. Running backs dropped, and we were all wondering what is going to happen. Barkley, out, ACL. Christian McCaffrey, out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. What are we going to do? We've lost some of the best running backs. Raheem Mostert, out. Le'Veon Bell, out. All we're seeing is these players drop. And so when you're left without anything else, what do? We go to the waiver wire. And we're going to get you everything you need to start in week 3. So the first one we're going to go with, and I think the top waiver wire claim is certainly Mike Davis. Mike Davis had a very middling rushing stat, but he also had 8 catches for over 80 yards. He was a really solid back in Chicago. He just didn't get the opportunity. And I think we're going to see a Captain Dip and Dunk here with Teddy Bridgewater make Mike Davis fantasy gold. So he's my number 1 running back priority ad. My number 2 running back waiver wire ad is Myles Gaskin. Jordan Howard and Matt Breida had this job in the bag. But what happened is neither of them performed. So now it is Myles Gaskin's turn to shine. The Dolphins team is sneaky, pretty competitive. When Tua comes in, I think that this team will have quite a bit of a revival. And if Myles Gaskin has this locked up, this could be a fantasy team you actually want a part of. Make sure Myles Gaskin is at least one of your waiver claims. Even if you go with, Mike Gesicki or Jonnu Smith first, make sure you're making the necessary adds to get him in your lineup. We've got an interesting situation in the Rams' backfield. Cam Akers is hurt. Malcolm Brown is hurt. And so we have Sean McVay darling Darrell Henderson sitting in the wings. He's only 45.3% owned, and he had a really solid performance in Sunday's game. Now, we have a super small sample size. So whereas Mike Davis and Myles Gaskin have a little bit more to go on, we just have to take the leap of faith with Darrell Henderson. He is a waiver wire ad, but he isn't the 3rd priority for me. Now, the 4th and 5th priority are Dion Lewis and Wayne Gallman Jr. I don't like this Giants team at all. Dion Lewis has routinely kind of proved that he can't be that primary every down back, whereas Wayne Gallman's more of your traditional ground and pound runner. The problem is, this team sucks. They're not good. They're going against a really banged up San Francisco defense, but it's still a well-coached defense. There are still pieces on this defense to make it competitive. So I'm not rushing to get either of those players, and they just don't excite me. Now, on the other side of the ball, Jerick McKinnon is finally getting his time to shine. Owned in just 19% of leagues, Jerick McKinnon had 3 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown. He's not going to be an every down back, but he could get you 12 to 15 carries. And at 12 to 15 carries, Jerick McKinnon can have value, especially against this decimated Giants squad. Now, when we're moving on from running backs, we've got just a couple of wide receivers that are of any actual value. We've got Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Allen Lazard. With Davante Adams hurt, these guys could be fantasy gold, but the issue is we've seen them have more of a feature role, at least with MVS, and he didn't do anything with it. Aaron Rodgers is a solid QB1, but the issue is how much of that is Davante Adams? I think the person that sees the most benefit from Davante Adams being out is Aaron Jones. And the sky's the limit for Aaron Jones. I have to take it on the chin. I was very low on Aaron Jones, but he has just shown that he is the centerpiece for this offense. So I'm not super excited about either MVS or Allen Lazard. Now, someone I am excited about is Russell Gage. We have seen that Matt Ryan can routinely support 3 targets in this offense. Obviously, Calvin Ridley has his. Julio Jones has his. But what we are seeing is Russell Gage is the 3rd target rather than Todd Gurley out of the backfield or Hayden Hurst. So Russell Gage is actually my number 1 wide receiver target this week. And if you can snag him, you feel pretty good about him. He's not a set it and forget it, but you can certainly, play around with it and have the potential. Now in quarterback, there are 3 quarterbacks that I am particularly interested in this week. 1, Minshew. Minshew mania, folks. It is all the rage. Gardner Minshew is a stud, and he is playing a mediocre Dolphins defense. With DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, and Keenan Cole, he has some real potential. And James Robinson out of the backfield had some nice receptions. This is an offense with weapons, and he's somebody you want to have at least on your bench. Number 2, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow showed that while he's a rookie, he can make it in this league. And he's somebody you want on your roster. The longer he's in, as long as he stays healthy, the more valuable he becomes. His connection with AJ Green and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon is only going to grow. So make sure you snag him. Finally, Jared Goff. Jared Goff was a really solid fantasy producer the year they went to the Super Bowl. He had a step back, and I think it was a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. But now he's showing that he can wheel and deal. So he's somebody I love. Now that closes out Waiver Wire Week 3. We're going to have a really substantial breakdown of all the injury concerns. So please watch the feed, hit the bell, like, comment, and subscribe so you can make sure to get all of the content.